This is Including You, the new series from Lead at Any Level. Including You features stories from chief diversity officers and other executives who are creating inclusive cultures in their organizations. Our goal is to show what's working in companies just like yours, to give you the tools you need to keep pushing for progress in your own workplace. We want to create belonging and opportunity for everyone, including you. And now here's your host, Amy C. Waninger.
Welcome back to Including You. I'm your host, Amy C. Waninger, the Inclusion Catalyst. My guest today is Bryant Alexander. He's the founder and CEO of Reframe Coaching and Consulting, which combines leadership, business, and performance coaching. Reframe Coaching and Consulting is based in Atlanta, Georgia. Bryant, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate it. Excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to talk to you because I love talking to coaches. I think coaching is where transformation happens in people. And so many people confuse me with a coach. And it's always nice to talk to somebody that coaching is truly their passion and learn more about the people that they serve. So can you tell us a little bit about who your target client is, what they do, where they work, what they're struggling with?
Yeah, so I have two sides to the business. The first side is working with experienced tech professionals. So these are individuals who, of course, work in tech, but have at least like 10 years of experience. And they've reached this point in their career where I don't want to particularly get a promotion. I'm missing some fulfillment in my job right now. So what I help those individuals do is really use their skill set to really help them find what that freedom is using the skill set that they've developed over the years. And the other side of the business is really working with tech executives, tech founders, and helping them really bring their idea for their product from ideation to fruition. Really coaching them on the mindset, coaching them on just what it means to be a purposeful leader, coaching them on the things that they need in order to actually run a team, have the skills needed to have tough conversations, understanding how to navigate conversations with VCs or other partners that they might want to work with.
Gotcha. And it's interesting that you say that, talking about the tech executives for a moment, the startup execs,
Yep.
because I don't think a lot of people, and maybe I'm speaking for more people than just myself and I shouldn't,
Yep.
I don't think I think about tech startup founders as people who might have mindset constraints or have limiting beliefs.
Yep.
Can you talk a little bit more about what you find there? Because that might be surprising to people other than just me.
We all have limiting beliefs. That's the thing. Whether you're a tech startup founder, whether you're an experienced executive, we all have limiting beliefs. So specifically with the tech startup founders, what happens is that this is a whole new endeavor. And I think that most of the time, when it comes to creating a product or bringing a product to market, you can often get wrapped up in what everybody else is doing or what you think you should be doing versus trusting yourself, all the work you put in up to this point, even the feedback that you've gotten from whether it's your co-founder, whether it's your team, whether it's potential partners, like the feedback, we love this, keep going. We'll still find a way, just people in general, because we're wired to think negatively first. But with founders specifically, it's such a scary leap into bringing this thing that is your baby, it's your idea. This is the thing where this is the thing that's going to feed my family. This is going to be a part of my legacy. To bring that out of your head into fruition, that's one of the hardest things you can do, which is just entrepreneurship in general is such a faith-based thing. Like even if you're not spiritual, like it's just faith-based. So it's a lot of hurdles that you have to navigate in order to actually make that thing happen. And then when you actually make it happen, now you have to rewire. Let's say it's a success. You have to then rewire like, oh, like what does success feel like? Or I have to maintain the success, or I have to keep fighting for the success. It's just, no, you need to now rewire what it is to embrace that success, to be comfortable in it, and to keep like evolving essentially. Because the saying that I always go by, the skills that it took for you to get to this place aren't the skills that you necessarily need in order to move forward in your growth.
And I think that's why a lot of people get the itch to start their own business in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Is going back to your first comment, people start to feel stagnant.
Yep.
They feel like they're not learning enough. They're not learning fast enough. They're not being
Mm-hmm.
challenged enough. And to some extent, they're constrained by the rules of wherever they were.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to break out and figure out, why do those rules exist? And can I work in a different paradigm?
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a scary thing. I've been through this as an entrepreneur myself. And I know you have too, where you have a job, they tell you what to do, you go do it, you do it. There's somebody there to give you basically get a cookie. And
Yep.
then you go back and you do it again until you stop getting cookies and then you go somewhere else. In entrepreneurship, it's like you get cookie crumbs intermittently, unexpectedly, and not always for the right things.
But the thing about that statement is that you have to, I guess that's just something that we're taught from childhood. You get an A, you might get a pizza party. Your parents might take you out to dinner. It's that instant gratification. Oh, I did great. Entrepreneurship, building a product, you have to take those crumbs and you have to just understand it is validation or a step forward. It just looks differently. Or you might be just brushing over like this. You're expecting this grand gesture and you're brushing over, oh, somebody downloaded. There was a download today. And of course, when you bring VCs and all this other stuff into the conversation, then it becomes different. But just to in those early stages, one person just buying something from you, and we don't talk about that and how hard it is to sell one thing to somebody, just one, to just brush over that in this journey of starting a business or bringing a product to market. You can't do that. You have to hurry up and get to that customer. What you like? What didn't you like? How can we do better? Be excited that this person actually thought about you enough to be like, let's try this out to see how it goes. So it's just that gratification looks different in this journey.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Do you find a difference in limiting beliefs, the types of, or the quantity of, or even the boundaries that we put up for ourselves
Mm-hmm.
in founders and tech workers who are otherwise underrepresented in their industries? So if you've got a client who is a woman or a Black founder or a person of color, do you find that there's more of that, or is it just different?
I was a part of a incubator in Chicago called 1871, and because initially I wanted to build a product, but what happened in this situation was it actually brought me back to coaching because I saw all the good work that I can do. But I was a part of this cohort of Black founders, and I would say, I guess that anxiety, or I guess like kind of those self-sabotaging behaviors, are probably a lot more prominent around underrepresented founders from what I saw. It was, and the reason I say this is because what happens is that it's not even the idea isn't fleshed out. It's just the person's willingness to like really like brag about that thing. And what I mean by brag about it, it's more so like you've done the research, you've got a few customers, you've this thing can work. But I think what I've seen with Black founders specifically, or underrepresented founders in general, is that they don't talk about it like they really believe in it. They don't talk about it like put all the work. I put 5 years into this thing and here are my results. The counterparts, what happens is that they can walk into a incubator, they can walk into anywhere with just an idea. That's it. No prototype, nothing, no evidence to show that this thing is right. But because they have a bravado about themselves, and also because just that's those founders most likely look like the people giving out the money. What happens is that they just need an idea, and it's in the way that they talk about it. They talk about it with enthusiasm and excitement. It's just like, yeah, go ahead, pre-seed. Here you go build it. But on the other side, I think it's a double-edged sword because as an underrepresented founder, you have to do the extra research. You have to show that you're more well prepared than your counterpart. But then if you're not able to talk about it with the same bravado, that's the point against you. So you have to talk about it. You have to talk about your product. It's the best thing since sliced bread. And that's where I see with underrepresented founders, it's just more so of a hesitation or intimidation factor there. When it comes to you put in the work, just go talk about it now. Be excited about it because your counterpart is over there like he doesn't even have a prototype, hasn't done any research. He's just I got this idea and this is what I think about it. You put together 5 slides and somebody's ready to give him money. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. But yes, I do see it like just that the less likelihood of an underrepresented founder to really pitch themselves and be confident in that because it's such a new space and you're worried about how you show up, you're worried about the way people perceive you. I think that it's different for sure. And I think that it happens a lot more with those underrepresented founders because you have to look at who you're talking to when you walk into these rooms. And yeah, like it was interesting to see at that incubator I was a part of.
I'm going to switch gears just a little bit because what you said strikes a chord with me. I talk with folks all the time about networking.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the books I wrote was on networking and how to expand your network.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear a lot, I don't want to be connected and get a job because right in corporate spaces, I don't want to get a job because of who I know. I want to get a job because of the good work I do.
Yeah.
And when somebody says that, it's almost always
Yeah.
somebody who has other cultural headwinds. It's usually a
Mm-hmm.
woman, it's a person of color.
Mm-hmm.
And I always just want to just hug them for a second and then say, okay, let's talk about this. Your work against Chad's work and political capital and social capital and playing golf with the CEO, and
Yeah.
his dad plays golf with the CEO,
Mm-hmm.
and he's in all the right rooms and goes to the country club and all of those things, and everybody knows Chad
Mm-hmm.
and he's doing pretty good work versus your work that nobody knows about. You can't compete.
Yeah.
Have
Yeah.
to get out there, talk about yourself, and have other people hyping you up. And in an entrepreneurial space, it's a thousandfold that, but it is
Mm-hmm.
still so hard for some people.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. And I think that's what it all comes down to. It is a game. Whether you're in corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur, it is a game. And that game is based on relationships and how you know how to work a room. And I think ultimately you have to decide like what that end goal is and being clear on that and being relentless, not in a negative way, but I think that you can be relentless about something but still be able to check in with your core values and what you believe and the vision you have for yourself. And the goal in this game is not to necessarily win, but just to keep playing. And that's not my quote. That is from Alex Ramosi, somebody that I follow. And that's the way I think about entrepreneurship. I'm not going to win the game of entrepreneurship. I'm going to have another idea. I'm going to have one day I want to actually go build the product that I started to build, but it's just not right now. Like I really want to focus on coaching. And that's why I think that it's a lot of opportunity when it comes to these relationships because there's so much more that you don't know. When you think you know something, having that conversation, putting yourself out there, not being too focused on a finished product or the work you've done. The work you've done is important. The finished product is less important because you just want somebody that can say, oh, I like what you're talking about. Like, I want to learn more. Let's set up a call. If you show them a clickable prototype and it's amazing, it's the best thing they've ever seen, and that's all they need, and there's no code behind it, that's always going to get you like more opportunity, open more doors for you in order to create connection with people. So yeah, that's the way I look at it. It's just all of this is about relationships. It goes back to that thing that we've heard for ages. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. And that goes for everybody.
Yeah. And it's about who knows you.
Exactly. Yeah, that goes into branding and all these other things you got to really put time into.
Absolutely. So, Bryant, when you work with these folks, can you give us just a high level overview of what's the process that you take them through, or how do you structure that time with them so that they're getting the most out of it?
Yeah, I think the first thing, especially whether you're an experienced tech professional or a startup founder, it's like I have them do a vision statement. And with this vision statement, it's a little, I take a holistic approach to my coaching because what you find is that whether you're building a business or your career, it's all connected. Everything is connected, and they heavily influence the way that we live our lives. So I have them do a vision statement, just outlining this is what do you want for yourself. Let's say it's an ideal day for you 10 years from now. What does that look like? And what I have them do is really go through from the time that they wake up to the time they go to sleep, every detail of who they engage with, what's going on during the day, what is their routine, or what are the feelings that they're having, what is the scenery. I have them have a very vivid picture as far as what that is because I think that, of course, if you don't know where you're going, you can't really see it. It's not. It's what is this all for? So I have them really do a vision statement, and then after that vision statement, I have them go through a values exercise. Values are really important, mainly because they determine our habits, they determine our behaviors, they determine how we just show up in the world. So understanding like what those core values are is really important for decision making in order to actually get to that vision that you have for yourself. Then from there, we really talk about the mind. I say mind, but what I mean by that is just really trying to get more alignment between what's going on in your head and what's going on in your body. Because my coaching is more holistic, and this isn't spiritual, it's just science. Have a neuroscience connection to my coaching. What happens is that we think that when we engage with something or when we experience something, it goes to the head first. But like when you're in an uncomfortable situation, your body usually has the reaction first. And then your brain processes it like, do I fight? Do I flight? How do I like rationalize this in my head? So it's just we think that it starts in the brain, but it actually starts in our body. So this is really important, mainly because like when a founder is experiencing anxiety, when they didn't get that round of funding, when things just didn't go their way, you got to figure out where that is in your body, how you're feeling, and then you can better process it. And then from there, you can make decisions as far as like how you're going to move forward. So I really try to help people get aligned with their mind and body. And this isn't spiritual. This is just science. This is the neuroscience behind coaching. And then from there, what we do is we really talk about like, all right, let's talk about your brand. So we talk about just what is your unique value proposition? How do you want to show up on social media in an authentic way that means the most to you? Because I think there's anxiety, a lot of anxiety as far as especially founders, because some founders, not all, because the ones that I work with are a lot more introverted. So it's not like, I don't know about getting behind camera. I don't know how much I want to share. Listen, you are selling a product. They don't care about the product unless they know you, what you're about. And this is where your values come in. This is where your vision comes in at. Like all of these things connect. So understanding your brand, things that you want to bring to the table, how you want to showcase that through social media. And it's more so, I'm not a marketing expert, but it's just these are the ethos that you want to bring or the words that you want to make sure that you're hitting on when it comes to like your brand and who you are. And then from there, we really just go to just how do we want to strategize for like the next 6 months. So you have all this information. What are you about to do with it? So we're planning as we go. But here's like after you're done with me, here's how you can continue to practice those mindset behaviors. This is where you can put your vision statement. This is how you check in with your values. This is the brand strategy that you have for yourself so that you can go to somebody who is an expert in social media and say, I know what I want my personal brand to be. How can I bring this to life? So it's just really a fleshed out strategy as far as like just how you're going to show up and represent your business or yourself.
Very cool. And so that's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
from an
Yeah.
internal perspective, from an external perspective. What kind of results do your clients typically see after they work with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. It varies. So my ultimate goal, like even if we don't hit on all those things, is really just to inspire somebody to rethink the way they thought about their own growth. Even if you don't follow through with the social media strategy or the personal branding strategy, you walked away saying, I have a better sense of where I want it to go and how I want to continue to grow. That as a founder or a tech professional, that is the general response that I get. Or I have those conversations where it's just like, I've never said a lot of these things out loud. I've kept them to myself. When I'm in a coaching session, I hear that all the time. It's just, I don't do anything but just ask questions. I'm just curious. I'm just here but to get that out and to say it and to stand by it and to be a part of that, like that means a lot to me, but it does so much more for that client because what happens is that when clients have those moments to where they say, I never thought about it like that, or I've never said that out loud, or you use metaphors to help them describe what they're going through, what happens is that there is something neurologically going on in their head to where they're rewiring the way they're processing an experience, something about themselves, the way they thought about a situation. So that is neuroplasticity in itself. So what happens is that now that what once painful or traumatic situation, again, I'm not a therapist, that painful and traumatic situation turns into this is a part of my story that I need to share, or this is something that helped me become who I am. This is something that shaped my values. This is how I want to implement this into the business. So it becomes a little bit more understanding who you want to be for yourself or your business, and both of them intertwine. So that is usually the general response that I get. I'm glad that I feel like lighter after this session. I feel like I have sense of like how I want to continue to grow, not only as a professional or business owner, but just a person. And recently I'm working with, it's funny because I'm working with the founder right now and I'm doing like fractional, like chief of staff stuff, but I'm like coaching him like little by little. And he realized the other day, I was just like, he was sitting in on a lot of his client meetings and he has employees and he's sitting in on the client meetings and he's wondering like, why is everybody not talking? I don't want to be in on all these meetings. Why is nobody talking? You're just sitting there. What am I paying you for? I'm just like, do you think they feel comfortable talking with you there? He was just like, yeah, I told them you can talk, do whatever you want to do. Like you can take over the conversation. I pass it off. Do you think they trust you enough in order to like take over those engagements? Do you think they know how to do that? I never thought about that. That was his response. I never thought about that. Do you think you've empowered them to really do that? He was like, I never thought about it like that. And I told him, just go ask them, do you feel empowered to take over these engagements, have these client conversations? And he texted me like, hey, they just basically said they know how to do the work. They don't have the confidence to take over those conversations. I was like, okay, it sounds like you might need to let go of the reins a little bit. Maybe you don't need to be in on those meetings in order to let them take over those conversations because he also has a big personality. He's a CEO. So those little things are extremely important because it doesn't just do good for those employees. It helps the CEO move to the back and just like trust people to do what they need to do. But also it just helps him become like more aware as far as like how he shows up. He knows that he has a big personality, but now he knows how that personality impacts other people that he might be working with.
Yeah. And people tend to, if they're not confident, they don't get confident by sitting quietly and overthinking their next step. You have to come in and do it. Confidence, I think, breeds confidence and vice versa. Bryant, I want to thank you so much for sharing so much of yourself and your process and your insights with our audience. If there are folks listening right now who are working in tech or who are tech founders, how can they reach you if they'd like to work with you?
They can reach me on LinkedIn. That is Bryant C. Alexander Jr. That is my full name on LinkedIn. Or you can reach me at reframecc as in cat.com. That is my website where you can learn more about my services. And I got a few things coming out in February. Stay tuned for that.
Excellent. We will make sure to put those links in the show notes at includingyoupodcast.com. So if you're driving, you don't have to write that down. Just go to includingyoupodcast.com to find that information. And Bryant, thank you again so much. It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate the time.
If you've enjoyed this episode, follow Lead at Any Level on LinkedIn and YouTube. Then join us for Including You video simulcast every Thursday at noon Eastern. Including You can also be enjoyed each week as part of the Living Corporate audio podcast series, available on all major podcast platforms. Learn more at living-corporate.com. Including You is brought to you in part by Lead at Any Level, a boutique training and consulting firm improving employee engagement and retention for companies that promote from within. Lead at Any Level. Leaders can be anywhere and should be everywhere. Learn more at leadatanylevel.com. Lead at Any Level and its logo are registered trademarks of Lead at Any Level LLC. The views and opinions of guests on our show do not necessarily reflect the positions of Lead at Any Level, Living Corporate, or the sponsors of Including You.
That's it for this week's edition of Including You. Be sure to join me next week when my guest will be Beth Throne from Franklin.